Yesterday, our resource person explained about the internet, IP address, and DNS. Today is going to explain about the web development tools and IDE environments. I welcome you all to continue the today's session.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Okay, good morning, folks. So, is Chandramouli available? Are you there? Can you explain?
I think he's not here.
Okay, fine. Okay, good. Yeah, I think he's there. Chandramouli, are you there? Yeah, thanks. Can you explain? Can you give the overall idea of what is port forwarding? Can you unmute yourself and explain?
Yes,
Okay.
Rahul, I think not able to speak now. I think we'll continue the session, Rahul.
Yeah, sure. Okay, Chandramouli, no issues. Just I'll explain it. Okay, no issues. So, okay, we have seen the public IP, right? So actually, it will be keeping on changing. Now, if you see my IP, it will be different from yesterday. Actually, like yesterday, it was around 25.255, I suppose. Now, the public IP will be changed actually. So this is because whatever the IP we are getting are something called as dynamic IPs. Like whenever we reboot the modem or whenever there is lack of IP address, the entire IP cache will be flushed and the new IP will be assigned to you. Okay. So the port forwarding is nothing but you can see my screen, right, everyone? So this is the basic working of internet. So what it is there.
Excuse me, Rahul. Screen is not visible now.
One second, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, got it now, right?
Yeah, it's coming now.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, fine. This is the basic what to say workflow of port forwarding.
Just a minute. Just a minute. Still, it's not coming. It started to show the screen, but still, we are not able to see it.
Now is it visible?
No, Rahul.
Got it, ma'am?
Yes.
Yeah, fine. Everyone able to see this workflow, right? Workflow diagram. So
yes.
The thing is that there is internet and you got this number, right? It's you got the IP like 72.243. So it is the public IP, like which translate to my public IP is 61.2.46.2.6 as of now. Okay. So when you open this, when you open this IP in your browser, just for example, you can just open this IP like this. Let's copy and paste it and it will be opening in the browser like this. Okay, so what happened is that by default the port 80 will be appended to it, like it will be like this is the typical that is the 80 port is implicitly casted to the IP address when you open the browser. This is because of the HTTP protocol. So only the browser communicates via HTTP or HTTPS. So typically when you hit the IP address in the browser, or when you type the URL like www.google.com, the 80 port will be by default appended to this thing, and you will be able to open this page. So as per this, yesterday I got a feedback, right? I like how I are connected to the internet. So based on this, there are two candidates which are using wired, and their provider is BSNL. Does any one of this person present here, like Srikanth or Daya? Are you present here? I think not. There is. Okay, I think they are not present. So anybody using BSNL broadband, BSNL wired broadband present in this meeting now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, can you share your IP? Like what is my IP address? You just type in the Google and share your IP there. So okay, let us share. I will just continue with the presentation. So whenever you make a request, first of all, it reaches your router actually. That is your wireless access point or router, anything. So from the router, it is being redirected to your internal systems which are connected, internal systems, mobiles, or everything. So this can be experienced better by the person who are using wired broadband only, since wireless will be accessing in phone, so you won't be having multiple clients accessing that same network. So this is my public IP, right? So when I open it in browser, what it is doing, it's just redirecting to this is my router page. So I'm having a TP-Link router, so it is redirecting to the router page. So in other words, I can say like, so this is my local IP, right? This is my local IP, that is 192.168.0.22. So in the local, I will be having a local router page, that is this thing, 192.168.0.1. Okay, so when I open this also, we will get the same thing, that is both are pointing to the same page only. So that is, this is connected via the local IP, and this is connected via the public IP. So as you can see from this, you cannot access my router page with this URL. You can access my router page only with the public URL, like this one. Okay, everyone clear with this first? What is the difference between public IP and private IP with a clear example? So okay, thanks Abu. So okay, so now coming to this workflow diagram. So whenever you hit this route, so whenever you hit with the IP, it will be redirecting to the public page, right? So here the question arises. So what is port? Why is 80 appended? Why is 443 appended? Any idea on that? What is port and what is IP? Any idea on that? Any idea on what is IP and what is port? So first of all, can you explain what is port actually? Anyone? So okay, fine. So I'll just explain. So port is nothing but a what is it? Yeah, port is thanks Narpat. He's saying like port is for application running on a system. Thanks Chandramouli. IP will identify the device port, will identify the service running on the port. Thanks Chandramouli and Narpat. What they are saying is correct. in a simple words, what I can say is that consider an apartment. There will be like many floors and many houses, right? So in an apartment there may be 400 to 500 houses, right? So for a single apartment we will have only one address, but inside that each house is given a particular number, like A101, B101, C101, like that it is there, right? So the address which maps to the IP, like the address of the apartment is the IP, and individual port is mapped to the apartment and house's name, we can say. Okay, so everyone clear with what is IP? Like if you are running an application, it will run in a particular IP only. So that means under a single IP, you can have many number of ports open and many number of application running inside it. Are you clear with this? Or you want what to say in depth more about it? Yeah, thanks. So, okay. Now let's start with the way, what to say. Now start with how to port forward actually. Okay. So, as you can see, for port forwarding, you need to log in into a router. Okay. First, actually, disclaimer: this settings, this configuration thing actually differs by router to router. Actually, okay. So you have to, if you are using TP-Link, that's then good, you can follow the same thing. If you are using other brands like D-Link or Netgear, so that will actually result in different configuration. You can just Google on how to configure port forwarding for this router. Also, you can do only if your public IP is accessible outside the internet. So as of now, how to say, Priyadarshini has shared their public IP, but unfortunately, it is not accessible outside this outside our internet. So I think our router either is not supporting the port forwarding option, or what is it? She has not configured it. Okay. So as of now, my router came out of the box with support for port forwarding and all. So few old routers does not support this feature actually. Also, the ISP like Act or Spectre or Hathway, they don't provide what to say your port forwarding or public IP access out of the box. You have to pay additional charges for that. For example, Act is charging around 2,000 rupees per year for what to say, for giving you a static IP and then port forwarding. Okay, so BSNL is giving it for, like, it is not giving it for free exactly, but they have some, what to say, some business strategy like that. So okay, now you can see that yesterday we have I have shared you a page, right? This page. So this is the page yesterday I have shared you, right? You guys remember this page, svcid.ddns.net colon 8080. So this is the same page. As you can see, this is accessing from public IP. This svc.ddns.net colon 8181 is being accessed by public IP, and in local I am running it under port 8081. So what I have done in my router is that you can just search for virtual service or port forwarding. Like, the term differs from router to router. As you can see, I have just made an entry here. For 8081, I am using the internal, like for external port, in the sense whatever you are appending with this thing, like svcit.ddns.net colon 8181. This is the external port. Okay. So now the internal IP from the router, I am just pointing to my internal IP. This is this. So what is my internal IP? How you can get it? You can get it from the command prompt via ipconfig. So, and internal port, I am redirecting it to 8081. The same port I am just being redirecting. So okay, fine, you get it. So okay, one more thing also you can do. Actually, you can modify this actually. Now I am changing to 9090. Okay. So now if you open this thing, it won't work actually. 1 second. You have to copy to. So as you can see, it won't work because I have changed the port forwarding concept. Like I have changed the port forwarding. So as of now, the port 8081 will be closed. And instead of that, what we have given actually, we have changed it to 9090, correct? So if I give 9090, it will be opening. Because I have what I have mapped is that the external incoming port will be 9090 and I am mapping to internal port 8081. Everyone clear with this? Or it is a bit confusing? Amu, you are saying that it is no, sir. I should take it for you are clear or it is not clear? Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks. Amu. Any suggestions from students? Students, are you able to what to say? Are you able to clear? Are you clear with this? Like the port forwarding concept. Yeah, thank you. Okay. Next, moving on to the next thing, we are going for HTTP. Before going into the HTTP, I will just okay. Actually, this is a list of common port numbers which we are using. Okay, there will be each port will have a specific meaning, or we are talking about the standards, right? The name will be given by ICANN. So they have defined the common port and its usability. Okay, you guys what to say used Telnet for programming, right, in C lab. So what is the port you are connecting via Telnet? Any idea on that? You will be just typing Telnet, right? I think you are using Telnet only, right, still now? In the for C++ programming in the second sem, you guys still are using Telnet only, right? Or you are doing in the local system itself? Yeah, thanks. Yeah, Telnet only. So how you will be connecting via Telnet? So you'll be having the Telnet and a particular IP, right? Yeah, so yeah, exactly. So if you type Telnet and the particular IP, this port 23 will automatically be implicitly connected. You are getting it right. So similarly for HTTP, you can see the port 80 will be used. So similarly for file transfer protocol, the port 20 or 21 will be used. So for this, these are the standard standard ports defined by ICANN. So okay, so many of you have taken remote desktop, right? RDP. Students, you know RDP, right? Like you can take the remote of another system. Any idea on it? Yeah, thanks, Ashin. So it uses port 3389. So similarly, each application will have one similar port and associated with it. So how many of you played CSGO? CSGO online? Like in the PC, I'm asking, not the COD mobile. Any of you played what to say CSGO online in PC, like with your friends? So how did you look? And I'm asking about the external player thing. So actually, you are playing with your friends, right? So it typically uses these ports to forward actually. So these ports will be used to communicate. In few networks, actually, you cannot play CSGO since this port will be blocked by your ISP. So you need to go to different nets. I'm not sure whether you have faced it or not, but I have faced it. So that's I'm telling. Okay, next. So what is HTTP? Any idea on it? So it is just a simple definition is there. HTTP is an application layer protocol for transferring hypertext media documents such as HTML. It was designed for communication between browsers and web servers. So this is the basic definition. So how what is HTTP? Any idea on it? Like apart from the definitions, can anyone explain in an easier way that we can able to understand? So okay, good. I'll just explain. So I'll just show some samples first. So this is a C program, right? Everyone knows what is the C program, correct? Does anyone know? I don't know what is C program. Yeah, it's a sectionless protocol. Good, thanks. Okay. So everyone knows C program, right? Anybody like I don't know C, or should I go with C++? Everybody can understand C, right? Any hands that I don't know C? Okay, thank you. Yeah. Okay, thanks. So just we are compiling it and we are just executing it. Okay. So what it is printing, just as per the program, as per the output we have expected, it's just returning my name as per what we have done in the coding. It is returning the name. So how it is happening actually behind the scenes? Any idea on it? Okay, fine. I'll just explain it. So basically, what it does is that it will take your programming language and convert it to a executable file, which can be understood by your system. Okay, this is a sample C program. Okay, so whatever we are doing, if it is a C program, it can be executed in your own machine only. That is, if you are doing as a console program. Okay. So this logic I can able to view it in my machine. So what if you want this to be viewed in your machine? Sorry, ma'am.
Excuse me, Rahul.
Yeah.
Now screen is not visible now.
No, it's not visible.
Yeah, it's okay. Now okay.
Is it visible now, ma'am?
No, ma.
Is it visible, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. So okay, just you can execute this program only in your system. What if you want others to look into your program, give suggestions or share with your friends? So that is the place where your HTML comes in. Actually, HTML in sense the web comes in and the HTTP comes in. So actually, as per this definition, it follows the basic client server protocol. So we will be seeing what is client server protocol in the upcoming session. So, and it is a stateless protocol. What does stateless protocol means? Any idea? Any idea on what is stateless protocol? Sorry. No login session. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's correct actually. So whenever you are whenever you are running this program, what happens is that, so I'm just running it. As soon as I enter my name, and the output is printed, what to say, the application will be flushed out of memory. That is, the application will not run first of all. And whenever you again run the program, it will not save any value. It will just expect the result. It will just expect the request from the request, and it will process, and it will complete. Correct. So it will not state any variables on their own. So, for example, what I'm saying is that I'm just running it, right? So I'm just entering my name, and the output is coming. So what if I want to save this name? Whenever I run the program, this name should, the last entered name should automatically print it. So by for that, what we should do actually? Any idea on it? So okay, fine. So for that, we can go with the saving the files, or you can save the data to the database. So like that, we can go for different techniques, and we can do. So the single HTTP request will not contain any data, that is any continuation of data. Do you get it right? Everyone clear? Yeah, okay, thanks. Yeah. So how is HTTP served next? So as a C program, you can just compile the program, and if you put /a.out, it will be executed. But however, HTTP program is served or consumed, any idea on it? Okay, fine. I'll just explain. There is something called as web servers or application servers. That is servers. Okay, generally they're classified as servers through which only the HTTP content is being shared. So when we go to svc.ac.in or any websites, there is a web server behind it, web server or application server behind it. So from that only the HTTP content is shared. I can show you an example. Okay. So just I am running a web server like yesterday we have seen, right? So this is running on a web server. It is running on a web server called Apache actually. So first, before that, we'll go to the classification of what is web server and what is application server. There are two types of server which can be used to share the logics. So as you can see, web server is used for delivering static contents, whereas application server is used for delivering dynamic content. So what is the difference between static content and dynamic content? Any idea on it? Okay, okay, no issues. Okay, the static content is something like this. So unless and until I go and change this code, that is the HTML code in background, it is not going to change, correct? So this is termed as static contents. Okay, so actually this can be served via a light application server, that is application server with which can be run via less resources and less memory usage, so everything. So this is called as a static applications. So when you take your college websites, most of them will be like static websites only, everything will be. So SVC students, what is your last what to say symposium web address? Like anyone can share it? The last symposium you guys might have hosted the protocol, right? Protocol, right? So protocol symposium, right? So anyone can share the web address of it. What is the last version actually?
Excuse me, Raghu, second year students are here.
Yeah, yeah. No, they might have participated in protocol, right, ma'am?
Okay.
I'm just asking the web URL. 20E or 21E? Any idea on it? Okay, fine. Okay, fine. Okay, just leave it. Okay, this is a stat. So we can take svc.ac.in itself. So this is a static page. So like everything, the contents will be static only. So unless until you change this thing, this won't change. So that is called static contents. So then, what is dynamic contents? So when you are designing an application, web application, or you are attending google.meet.com, right? So these are dynamic applications. So you are getting live video feeds of everyone. Like I'm just using the Office Online to present this thing. So everything I can change it. Like I can interact with it mostly. So if I just want to change this some text here means I can change it, right? So whenever the user interaction is there, like I can able to edit, view, change, mute everything. So by that time, that is called as dynamic web contents. So it will be changing based on the user actions. Okay, you guys are clear with this, right? First of all, what is static web servers and what is dynamic web servers? You guys are clear with this, right? Yeah, thank you. So okay, yeah, as you can see, the second point, both the contents are delivered using the HTTP protocol only, but it will be consisting of some business logics. What does business logic means? So when you are designing a web application for your library management system, I think SVG students might have used like you have got online portal for book renewals, right? College book renewals and all. So it is typically a web application. So you can go and renew books there. So everything. So it will have the business logic, like the student has this many books due to be just submitted, or this is the due date of your book. So it will have your it will have the details of the books which you have lended or borrowed or something like that. So it will have some what to say business logics. So that is the thing. So now coming to the third points, so it serves only web-based application, like the whatever the thing we are doing for our hobby purposes, or you have defined a website for your protocol, like a symposium. So everything will be a web-based application, like you are writing your own blog. That is for simple personal or light enterprise use. That will be mostly a standard web servers only. But whereas the big enterprise level, like this meet.google.com or Office Online or google.com, facebook.com, everything will come under the application server category. Okay, so this 2 points, are you guys aware of multi-threadings? Okay, just I'll explain the basics. Multi-threading is means, so you can take the C program, when you the same C program which you have been using now. So whenever you just enter your name and type enter, it will be using one thread only. There will be no processing in the background. And like what I mean is that consider you have to compute the prime numbers up to a 1 lakh or so, means if you run in a single thread, that is in a single process, if you run means it will take more time to do. So what we will do is that we will split the process and process in a multi-threading way. That is, we will process 4 tasks parallelly, like 1 to 10,000 you compute in, you will be computing in one process, and 10,000 to 20,000 you will be computing in another process. Similarly, we will go like that. So each task will be, how to say, computed in different threads, and it will be merged at the final thing. So yeah, the next point is facilitates web traffic. Web traffic is that if many users what to say, open your website at the same time, the resources won't be available to process. So that is like that will be very low in the web service. Whereas applications, you will have it what to say, running for a long time, and you will have more resources to accommodate n number of requests. So you can just imagine how Google handles many traffic. Like they handle a lot of traffic, right? So that level of logics or WhatsApp, you can take like many number of clients are accessing it at the same time. So for the typically for high volume use, you will be going for application service. Are you clear with this? Yeah, okay, thank you. Okay, now next coming to the HTTP methods. So what is HTTP methods? Any idea on it? Okay, thanks, Kaushik. Yeah. Okay, fine. I'll just explain. So, what are the methods? Like we have a protocol HTTP, right? So inside the HTTP, there will be certain standards of how the what to say, how the client is being communicated with each other. So we have four basics method. Just the names I'm just saying. It's get, post, delete, and put. What that typically do means, whenever you are opening a request in a browser, you can just open the developer tab, that is F12 you can press, or you can press like control or control shift F12, I suppose. If you see means, you will get the details of what are the things which are happening in the browser. Correct. Have anyone seen this before? Have anyone seen this developer options before? Yeah, okay, thanks. So yeah, okay. So these are the basic HTTP response. So if you click on the thing, you will see the request method here. It is a get method actually. You guys can able to see it, right? So what it is saying, it is a get method, correct? So what does get method means then? So get method is whatever you are something requesting from the website. So you are requesting Google to give this content, whatever the content is. So you can keep this HTML page you are requesting from Google. A simple thing I can show you this. So you are requesting for this thing, right? So you are requesting for this page, the index HTML page. So this is a simple GET request. So whatever the thing you are requesting from the web server, that is a GET request. And what comes to POST is that when you are just sending the information to the server, I can typically say like, one second. So which is the same C program example which you have seen. Now I am just submitting this thing. You are getting the same name, right? Same output, right? Whatever we have seen in the C program, just I have translated to what to say, web-based applications. Okay. So what I am doing, just I am submitting a request and it is printing my name. So this we can call it as post. Like that is, you are pushing the content to the. I mean, you are sending your name. In this example, you are just sending your name to the server, and the server is processing and giving you the response like hello Rahul, hello plus name you can keep it as. So this we can call it as a post request. That is, whatever the if you are sending the content to the server, you have to use post request. So these are the standards that are defined, so that if we need to follow it, so that it makes the application look better. So next, what is delete request means? This I will be explaining in detail in the coming live coding section. So I can just simply give you a definition. Like you can take your college application, college renewal process system itself. So whenever you are just returning a book, what they will do is that they will delete the book entry. Like before when you are borrowing a book, they will put an entry under your name, that person here has got this book, say a book on the engineering physics they have got. So whenever you return the book, what they will do, they will just delete the entry from your name. So for that we have to use delete request. Okay, everyone clear with this? What is delete request? First, are you clear with this three? Get, post, and delete. Okay, thanks. Students, are you clear, or you need a bit more explanation? Okay, fine. Okay, so then what comes? What is put request? Any idea on it? You have seen get, post, and delete. What is put? Any idea on it? I'm sorry, what printf means? I'm not getting it. Yeah, thanks, Amu. It is used to modify the information on the web server. Yeah, exactly. Thanks. Okay, fine. I'll just explain. So when you are, instead of returning the book, you want to renew the date, like you want to renew the book. By that, you have to send the put request. So if you send put request means under your name, the book will be there, but the due date alone will be modified, correct? So that we have to do via put request. Clear with this? You are not deleting the book against your name, you are just modifying the due date for it, correct? So that for that we will be using the put request. Clear on this? Yeah, thanks. Okay, students, are you clear, or you need a bit more explanation on this? Okay, fine. I'll just proceed to the next thing. So these are the HTTP methods we have seen, and now we are coming to the HTTP status codes. What does the status codes mean? Any idea on it? Okay. Okay, fine. I'll just explain. You can see in the browser itself, you can see that the status code is what to say 200, correct? It is printed here, right? So what is this? As you can see here, the status code is something like, sorry, there is no status code printed. Okay, fine. So here the status code is 200. So what this means is, typically when you are communicating with a web server, you will be using the HTTP protocol as mentioned here. So if there are some mismatch information, or if the client is sending something wrong, or the server is not responding, like you guys can see whenever the Anna University publishes result, how many of you seen the results in your first attempt, or how many of you keep waiting? So how will be the traffic in the Anonymous server? Will, first of all, will the web page load? Will the, what is the COE 1.anonymous.edu, right? Will it load during the result hours? Yeah, it won't load actually. It won't load, right? So, that is the error from the server. That is, the server is not responding, or what to say, you are not connected to the internet. There may be reasons in the both end. So for that, we are using some standard codes like. Before we have seen like this port and all standard ports like for 80 for HTTP and 22 for Telnet, like that, right? So in HTTP also we have some standard ports. So if this port is if this status code is coming, it's just an integer status code. Integer is 200 is an integer, 201. So if this integer comes, means we can interpret from that this thing has happened. So what I'm saying is that, so first it is classified into 5 series actually. That is from 100 series, 200 series, 300 series, 400 series, and 500 series respectively. The 100 series, you won't able to see it in the real time. That is, it is handled by browsers itself. So you cannot see in the real time. It's real time. So it's just informational responses. So now coming to the 200 series. So if it is giving 200 response, means that it is success. Success are okay. As you can see in this request, it is giving 200, right? So that means it can able to communicate with the web server properly, and it can able to get the response from the web server, so that it is giving 200. Okay, then what is 201 actually? So 201 is created typically where we will be using this. You can take your college management application itself. So you are creating a new, you are getting a new book from college and you are putting entry, right? So by that time, we must give the 201 response, so that the book entry has been made in your name. So for that we need to give 201 response. Okay, clear with this? We will what to say, we will we will learn in the upcoming sessions on how to give proper responses, like how to give the response for 201, 203 and all in tomorrow's session. Okay, I'll just explain the basics. I will just explain the theory. Okay, clear with it? Like the 200 response, are you guys are clear with it? Okay, thanks. So, okay, now coming to the 300 series, 300 series in the sense, so how many of you know Thamurakas? It's a good example I can see you. Thamurakas, how many of you know? Any idea on it? Thamurakas, how many of you used actually? Yeah, you might have seen like they will be changing the domain names. I don't know the recent domain names, so they will be changing the domain names, right? From TZ to CR, so everything they will be changing the domain names. So if one domain is down, they will be automatically redirecting to the other domain. Like if SCR is blocked, they will be redirecting to TZ or what to say, CS, something like that. So how they are doing it? How they are doing it? So that's where the redirects comes in. So just they will redirect it. So this is moved permanently. So they will give the 301 response for that site, and the browser will be automatically redirecting you to that destination site. Okay, this is the logic behind it. Understand? Everybody understood? This redirection thing, this 301 response code. Okay, thanks. So next, what is 304 actually? That means it is not modified. So what is this thing? Any guesses? Any guesses on this thing? I'm not getting any 304 actually. Okay, fine, I'll just explain. 304 is that whenever you are communicating with the web server, and for example, mostly the images will be cached on 304. Just looking for example, but I'm not getting it correctly. For example, if this image is there, means whenever you reload the page, this particular image won't be again fetched from Google websites. Instead, it will be saved in your what to say, local local browser itself, so that it will result in a reduced traffic. For that we'll be using 304. Like the browser will be sending like, I have this image, so you need not send it again. So for that cases, you can go with the 304 responses. Okay. So next, now coming to the client errors actually. This client errors means you cannot see it in your typical web applications. Like whatever the thing you are doing it in the browser, you cannot exactly see this. Okay, this will be applicable for only APIs. When you are communicating with the APIs, you will be going with the client error. So what is API? We will just cover it in the coming sessions. So just 400 in the sense, it is for bad request. So what is bad request? From the name itself, you can see that the client is giving some bad request. So for in this example, I can say like instead of name, what if I am giving email address? So actually this example will give whatever the thing you are giving, will give you as the response. But if you want to validate in the server, so by the time you can give the 400 response. And 401 and 403 are related to security concerns. What I'm saying, if you are logging into Facebook or Gmail without proper credentials, like you are not entering your username and password, and you are logging into this thing, by that time you need to throw 401 and 403 depending upon the depending upon the case. So 404, everyone might have heard this. What is this? It's not phone. What does it mean? I think this can be explained by any one of you guys. 404 error. You might have seen in many memes and all. 404 not found. So what is that? Any idea? Can anyone explain it in chat or unmute yourself and explain? Most of you have seen this thing in memes and all. Also, you will be seeing it. Yeah, thanks, Ashwin. Okay. So, okay, Ashwin, as per your thing, it's saying like 404 means this website is not available. But now this website is available, correct? But can I give 404 for that? This is a sample website, sample web page or website that is hosted in my group. So, will I be getting 404 for this? You got it right. Now can you can see that HTTP status 404 not found, it is giving. So why it is giving like this? Because it contains only access for this. Okay, it does not have any mapping for this. So it is giving the 404. So okay, coming to this, what is this thing? /Apple. In many websites you will be seeing this like this, right? /Apple. For example, you can take the Hindu newspaper. You can see this. You can see this like /coronavirus like this and all. You are seeing, right? So what is this thing actually? You are just saying like coronavirus /coronavirus. So what does it mean actually? Yeah, thanks, Ashwin. A path or subfolder. Yeah, exactly what you are saying is correct. Okay, fine. So as you said, it is a path only. So each thing will be it will be like in an organized manner. So we are going for path-like structure. So based on this website, this will be calling us root path, and we can go with the subpath. So only this root path is available in this website, and no other subpaths are available. So you can type anything, and the subpaths are not available. So the web server itself is throwing you the 404 exception. That is, the subpath is not available. So the exception is thrown. Okay. Are you clear with this? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now next coming to the internal server error. So there are three types, that is 400, 501 and 503. Whenever you are connecting to one university for results, whatever you are getting fall under this three category, whether it is 500 or 503 only, because the service is not available. That is, the entire service is not available. Just you can differentiate this with 404 and 503. That is, if the entire service is not available, the 503 will be given. Only a part of the service, that is only a particular path is not available, means the 404 will be given. Are clear with this? The internal code server 505. Okay, thanks. Okay, yeah. So now we have seen the web servers and application servers, right? Can anyone name some examples of web server and application servers? Any examples of web server and application servers? Any example web servers? You can just Google and also you can see it. Thanks, Apache HTTP server. Thanks, Kaushik. Other than this, any web servers or application servers? Okay, fine. If you find it difficult, I will ask simpler questions. You can say the programming languages which you know. Whether it is C, C++, apart from C, C++, Java, Python, apart from these four languages, what are the other languages you know? Ruby, okay. LabVIEW, it's technically not a programming language, I suppose. PHP, okay, correct. Perl, yeah. Then these are the only programming languages you know. Cobra, okay. C#, okay. Thanks, Cooper. JS, yeah. We have many number of programming languages. Fortran, yeah. Angular, okay. Angular is technically not a programming language. It's just a framework actually. Python, I have said that apart from C, C++, Java, Python, you can say other things you know. Okay, Erlang. Okay, others. Shift R, Kotlin, okay, Julia, yeah. Dart, okay. Flutter. Flutter is actually again it's a framework based on Dart. VB, yeah, okay, correct. Okay, thanks guys. So yeah, SQL, React. Again, React is a framework based on JS. HTML. Okay, HTML, Pascal. Okay, thanks. Okay. Can you guys classify it actually? Which are the programmings used for backend? Which are the programming languages used for front end? Like you guys know the difference between backend and front end, right? Or you want me to explain that? What is backend and what is front end? Okay, for backend SQL and what is PHP? First, can we have a discussion on what is backend and what is front end? Can anyone unmute yourself and speak like what is backend and what is front end? Okay, HTML, CSS, JavaScript for front end. Okay, and for backend, Surya? SQL, okay. You have backend is SQL and backend languages. You can keep the backend languages also. So actually, Chandramouli, SQL does not technically comes under the programming language. It has what to say. It has been governed as SQL only. Like it is used for interaction with the database. So it does not technically come under the programming languages. Okay, fine. For backend languages, we can use Java, C++, C#, okay, Golang, Ruby, Swift, and all you can use for backend. So typically, what the front end and what does front end and backend means? The front end is the thing which user is viewing. In this example, this is the front end. Okay, this is simple. This is a simple HTML page. I can show you this thing. So this is the simple HTML page. You guys are clear with this, right? Yeah, or you need some explanation in this. You guys can able to see my screen, and you can just understand this HTML page, right? Yeah. Okay. So this is a simple HTML page. This page is being loaded into this browser as of now. So this is the user interface page. But for as a backend processing, what I am using is I am using the Java here. It's a Java. So you no need to worry about this stuff. No need to worry about the programming language. I will just explain in a few more minutes. So this is a Java class. This I am using as a backend. Okay. Clear with this, right? Clear this with this. So the front end web page is typically made up of HTML, JavaScript, CSS. Okay, one more thing, don't confuse JavaScript with Java. both are entirely different. Don't consist JavaScript as a Java, because JavaScript is typically used for front-end programming, whereas Java is separate. Both are both follow a very different path. They both are not related to each other at all. Are you clear with this? Yeah. Okay, fine. So we are clear with the front end and back end and different programming languages. Correct? So can you give the examples of web servers and application servers? So Surya, you are saying Django, right? So how you are deploying Django actually? Any idea on it? Any idea on how you are deploying Django? Or Haritha, you are saying PHP and ASP.NET. So how you are deploying ASP.NET? Django is a framework, correct? So how you are what to say deploying it? How you are presenting in the Django is a UI front-end UI framework, correct? So how you are presenting in the UI? Gokulnath, it's a good question actually. JS can also be used for back-end programming language. Yes, it can be used. There are some frameworks like Node, Dino, etc. So that can be used for back-end also. Yeah, thanks, Dhanam. It's application server XBoss. Yeah, XJBoss. Yeah, correct. So yeah, you are saying that it's application server. Yeah, correct. You have got it. So application server is a Xbox, correct? So other application servers, can you give some examples? Oracle. No, Oracle is a database actually. Oracle is a database. Yeah, WebLogic server, good. Tomcat. Yeah, thanks, Kavita. It's Tomcat is correct. Tomcat comes under web server or application server? Glassfish, yeah, good. Yeah, thanks, Kavita. Yeah, correct. Other than this, okay, fine. That's enough actually. Zen server, okay. It is very rarely used actually. So as you can see in the services, I have installed first. Okay, I will just share few examples of application server and web server. So application server comes under Apache, Nginx and all. Whereas the what to say, application servers are Tomcat, Tomcat, ASP.NET. For that we will be using ISS server, and for PHP we will be using the inbuilt PHP server. So that comes under the application server. Whereas the web servers comes under, for examples are Apache, Nginx and all. So I have hosted a Apache server in my machine. Hence only you can able to see this page. You are seeing this page because I have hosted a I have hosted a Apache server in my machine. As you can see, it is running under the Windows Service Manager, and so only you can able to see it in the port. So for example, I can give you another example. So actually, don't get afraid of this command. netstat-an is the inbuilt Windows command which is used for listing what are the ports that are being used in your system. Okay, you are running many applications in your system, right? So what are the ports that are being active in that system? For filtering that, you will be using a netstat-an. I'm saying like, so it will list all the ports that are running in your system actually. Okay. So just I'm filtering it based on the port 8081 only, because I'm filtering it for 8081 because I have deployed it on port 8081. So I'm just filtering it to show you guys. So I have I have the application server. Also, you have to find only the listening state. Okay. Again, if I filter means, so this two ports actually it is listening. Actually, why it is showing 0.0.0.0 instead of 192.168.0.2 means if you type 0.0.0.0, it will be accessed across all the machines. Like that is what are the interface that is there in the machine. For all the interfaces, the port 8081 will be used by this server. So the Apache server is being running on the port 8081 so that I can open this page in the browser and I can able to view the HTML page. Are you clear with this? So this is a simple web server Apache, and it is being running on my system, and it is running on the port 8081, and you guys can able to see the what to say HTML page because of the Apache server. Clear with this? Okay, thanks. Okay, so as I have said, the web server Apache is used for showing only static contents. That is, this is a static content. So when you are moving for what to say, when you are moving for dynamic web applications like this, we are going for Tomcat server. So here you can see that I have deployed a Tomcat server. Okay, so this is running on port 9090. So that is the thing you are seeing it here. Okay, and I have made a index.html, I mean the home page for it, and this is the home page for it, and you are seeing the home page here. Clear with this? You guys can able to understand the difference between application server and a web server, right? So why we are using it, everything is clear, right? Okay, thanks. Okay, now we are just moving into the last session of our slide actually. So the client server architecture. So what is this client server architecture? Any idea? Without seeing the slide, can anyone say like, anyone can say what is client server architecture? Okay, fine, I'll explain. So the client server architecture is nothing but you can consider your web browser as a client, okay, and the application server or web server as a typical server in general terms. So the server will not what to say request anything to the client. The client only will be requesting the things to the server. For example, if you take this program, you can just take the C program. So this program won't be executed until and unless I am executing, right? So I am just executing and I'm typing my name and I'm getting the output. Similarly, the browser only will be making the request to the server. Like now, if I am just loading the web page means the browser will be invoking the request to the server, and the server will give the response for that. Okay, so I am just loading this website and I am asking for the index.html page, correct? So the index.html page will be loaded here. So that is the thing. The HTTP is stateless, so the connection is over. So whenever I am making another request, I am just typing my name and I am submitting as a request. So by that time, again I am getting the response. So in client server architecture, the client makes the connection to the server and the server responds to it. Yeah, correct, Chandran. The handshake exists, so that thing comes, what to say, that is behind the scenes. We cannot able to see it visually. So what to say, we can just able to see that if a client sends a request, the how to say, the server responds to it. Are clear with it? So typically, whatever the websites which you are browsing are typically comes under the client-server architecture only. For example, you can take, you are just typing, you are giving the request to the Google to show the search results, or you are loading your college websites. So everything, the physical server will be there. That is a physical server. It may be hosted in the cloud, or you may be hosted in the local machine like I do. So the physical server will be there. Whenever you are opening the request from the web browser, that request will be sent to the server, and the server responds for that the thing which the client asks. So clear with this? Clear with this client server protocol? Okay, thanks. Okay. So there is another protocol, what to say, opposite to the client server protocol. Anybody know what is it? Anybody can say the other protocol which is exact opposite of the client server protocol? Yeah, thanks, Narpat. It's P2P. Can you explain what is P2P protocol? Or can you give the example on where we are using P2P protocol? Yeah, Kaushik, it's correct. It's we are using BitTorrent. I can give you a real-time example. Yeah, Narpat, you are correct. It's in P2P client can directly communicate with other nodes. Yeah, it's correct. I will give you a real-time example. Again, I have to take Tamil Rakas only because that is the thing we all guys know. Okay, so Tamil Rakas will be giving us many links, right? So whenever you click the direct link, that will be expired. You might have seen an exception like the link has been taken down. Okay, so but in the P2P architecture, how to say, each clients can communicate with each other. So for example, Anna University servers will be down, right? If the main server is down, you cannot see the results because the server will not be loading and you cannot see the results. So what if it is distributed instead of a single server? The data will be shared across different servers actually. You cannot say it as if this is the master, this is the slave. So everything, what to say, everything, the data is distributed and we can get the data from any of the systems. So that is the P2P network. So typically the torrenting protocol uses it the most. Okay, clear with this? Students, are you clear? Yeah, thank you. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. Just today I will give you the tools which we needed for the web development. So from tomorrow we will start with the live coding session. Like I will be just coding you, and you guys can do it parallelly. First, I will just what to say from tomorrow, like this only the session will be going. I will just code it, and I will just show you the output, and you guys can try it in your laptop or PC. Okay, so and you can just ping immediately when you have errors also, so that we can resolve it. Okay, so for this we will be using the IDE, correct? So for IDE you can use NetBeans. Actually, I will suggest NetBeans for beginners. So you can download NetBeans. So okay, you can just go to this website, and I'll just share the download links. You can just download NetBeans from this link. NetBeans is just an IDE, like you are using Python compiler and all, right? So that typically is IDE for developing web applications. We need an IDE, so for that we can use NetBeans actually. So you have to install it, and you just open it, and it will take it will take few times for downloading other dependencies also, and you can download this Tomcat actually. So Apache Tomcat you can download. So this is for web application actually, web application deployment. This is a server. So this also you can download and install it, install in your server. So this typically will be consisting of around 400 to 500 MB. So that I am intimating you guys in prior. So you can just download these things and come. Okay. Any doubt in downloading or? So typically the NetBeans ID will be like this actually. Okay. You guys can just download these two plugins, I mean two prerequisites. Everyone clear with this? Yeah, okay. From tomorrow, you can come with, you can, those, I think the majority of the persons, what to say, connected via mobile only. It's better if you guys connected to your through your laptop or PC, so that we can have the live coding sessions. For those of you who don't have any laptop or PC at your home, you just can, what to say, listen and code with me, okay? Everyone clear with this? Yeah, okay. Students, are you clear? Yeah, okay, fine. Any questions till now? You can ask me actually. Any questions in this today's session, or you have anything to ask me? You can ask me. Yeah, move. That is what I have showed you in the router page. Again, I'm showing it. So this is my router page. You can able to see it, right? Once again, first I will answer Ammu's question. So this is my public IP, correct? So in my router, when I open, you can just open this public IP in your in my public IP in your what to say, in your browser, in your phone browser or something. You will just see my router page. Correct? Are you clear with this? Clear till this? Okay. Now in my router, what I have did is that I have configured the port forwarding. I have been explaining beginning, right? So one second. I have forwarded the port 9090 to my 8081 port. That is, whatever the requests which are coming to the 9090 port, I am just forwarding to the port 8081. So typically this application is running in port 8081, correct? This HTML page. So whatever the request is coming to the 9090 port from outside, it will be mapped to my internal IP and the internal port number. Okay, so by that means it is connected. Are you clear now? Yeah, thanks. So next, so Surya Sai, can we use Python for backend? Yeah, exactly. Python is typically used for backend only. The Django framework is used in much lesser quantity only for frontends. So for frontend, mostly everyone will be using the JavaScript only. They won't be using that Python framework and all for most of the cases. Python is typically used for backend only. Okay, thank you. Any other questions? You can ask other questions also, not relating to this also. So if I know, I will try to answer your questions regarding the web. So how this works, how that works. I have got another 10 more minutes to answer you guys. Regarding programming languages, you can ask me the questions. I can try to answer your questions actually. Surya, I will just suggest you to go with the backend first, that is Java first, because what to say, Java is a strongly typed language. Strongly typed language in the sense it will have the concepts like inheritance, the OOPS concept it will be having. So because JavaScript is easier compared to Java, so I will suggest you to go with the harder one first, so that the upcoming things will be easier for you. So first, you cannot use the plain JavaScript without Java. Like when you are designing application, you can take some a library management system. First, you have to define the backend to save the data to the database. For that, you need to use Java. So then only you can design the front end like for user submission and all. Correct. So I'll suggest you to learn Java first. Sir, can we have some attachments in the Google Meet near the title? Can we use them? It is denying access. I'm not sure what is the. Indumati ma'am, can you say what those attachments are? I can able to see. I too cannot able to access it actually.
It's a feedback link.
Any other questions, friends? So the one thing, this is my first webinar I'm taking. I'm not what to say. I'm not taking classes or webinars conducting regularly. So I'm just working. So this is my first webinar. So what to say? I may not be good at communicating. So you can share that feedback also to me. Like these are the areas I can improve in communication. Any other feedbacks like that apart from the feedbacks you have given in yesterday? Yeah, thanks, Surya. Yeah, thanks, Kaushik. So, few other questions like when I was interacting with Indumati ma'am, she was saying that students are asking like, why are you going with what to say? For connecting to the databases, you are asking questions like why we need SQL, why we need to learn SQL. We can have that frameworks to do the model mappings, and we can insert the data into the SQL through models, right? So, how many of you still have that question? Like why we need to learn SQL, and we can leave it to the framework to handle it. We can create model objects for it, and the framework will take care of everything. So anybody has questions like why we need to learn SQL and all? Which framework you prefer most? Actually, for which it's a generic question. Like for what is your particular use, or what is the particular application you are developing? So typically we cannot say this language is the best language, first of all. So for web developing, I would prefer Java or Java for backend typically, and what to say, Angular or React for the front end. Actually, that is what we are doing in our work right now. So we cannot say that this language is specifically what to say better than others. In one cases, the C will be performing better than Java. C or C++ will be performing better than Java. In few cases, C Sharp will be performing better than Java. In few cases, Python will be performing better than Java. So based on the application you are designing, the programming language and the framework you choose will be differing. Okay. For front end, there will be whatever the backend you are using. For front end, it is dominated by only three frameworks: Angular, React, and Vue.js. So whatever the backend you are going, these three frameworks are topping the most for front end. Any other questions, guys? I'm expecting a lot of questions from students actually. Because I had a question when I was studying 10th standard, like why I'm learning botany, zoology, and all for. Because I determined my path that I'm going to be a computer engineer. So why I'm going with the botany, computer science, and all. Also in the college first year we'll be having lab, right? This mechanical engineering lab and all. So why we need to learn it? I was having this question, and now I got the answer for it. So anyone have questions like this?
If you have any doubts, you can ask the speaker.
Yeah. I want to become a security analyst. Which language should I focus? Actually, security analyst, you need to go with the penetration, what to say? You need to go with the penetration level. Like what I'm saying is that you want to make the application more secure, or you need to detect the security flaws in the application. Web penetration testing. Yeah, actually, you can use Java. The web penetration testing is what to say. It does not depend on the languages you choose. It depends on your skills. Like if what to say, if particular website has some security flaws, like you have seen many criticisms about our Aadhaar card and all, right? The Aadhaar security is not that good, and you are now recently launched the Arogya Setu app also as. Much security like that. You've seen many news, right? So for that, there is no particular language. Actually, it depends on your skills to penetrate this. So typically, the penetrating analysis, the security penetrating analysis does not depend on any languages. You can just use the inbuilt Windows commands like netstat, ping, traceRT, and you can use like the commands in the packet tracing tools and all. Call Linux, exactly correct. So like that. So that typically does not involve you in any of the programming languages actually. So because you are, what to say, you are testing the integrity of the programming languages in that. Like you are testing the programming languages itself. In other words, if I want to say means. So for testing a programming language, you have to use what to say, other tools only. Tools, and there are tools like packet tracing, packet tracer tools and all. So you have to learn that tools only, not typical programming languages. Hope I have answered your question, Surya.
If there is no questions, we will end up the session. Oma?
Should I start with so now Surya? Actually, what are you doing actually? You are a student or professor or whatever. No. Yes, Chandramouli, you are correct. You have to think like a developer only, but I am saying that you don't need any, you have to think in other ways that developers have missed. Like in a movie like Hero left, the villain will be thinking the other ways the hero has left, right? So like that you have to think. Okay, guys, I'm giving you my number actually. Uh, you can just how to say, if you have any feedback or suggestions or any questions, you can just contact me through my number also. So I'm ready to assist you. Okay. Surya, you can call me if you have any doubts so that I can able to guide you. Okay.
Any more questions?
Any other questions, team?
As there is no questions, thanks, Rahul.
Yeah, okay, ma'am.
You have given
see you tomorrow. Okay.
informative session, and hope participants are very interacting, and they got more information about basics of web development. Yes, by this we are ending the session today, and tomorrow we'll meet.
Yeah, tomorrow I request
Thank you, Rahul.
those of you who have laptop or system, it's better to connect from it. And with these two tools I have mentioned, the NetBeans and the Tomcat, I request you guys to download and install and get ready with it. Okay.